Welcome back to Real Florida Magazine.
Welcome back. Here today on the beautiful campuses of Florida Panhandle Technical College. Here today with Melisa Reddick from Chipola Healthy Start. We're going to be talking about pregnant women and children under 3. Melissa's organization deals with both of those groups of people, ensuring healthy babies, healthy moms, healthy moms to be. And we're going to talk about all of the things that you can do to get involved. And maybe if you are under 3 yourself or you're a pregnant mom, this is exactly the show you're going to want to see. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Melisa Reddick from Chipola Healthy Start. We talked on the phone. You decided that you could come over and do a program for the Chipola Kiwanis Club today, and then you acceded to our invitation to come do the show. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for having me.
We talked a little bit in the pre-show about your history, you're being from the area originally. Talk for a minute about Melisa Reddick. Talk about what you're all about, how you ended up here, and how you ended up working for Chipola Healthy Start.
Well, I grew up in Washington County. I went to Vernon High School. Then I moved away to the United Kingdom for a while and taught there at the university. And then I came back and received my PhD. And now my son is growing up here amongst all of our family outside and just loving every minute of it.
In just a short sentence or less, what's the difference in Washington County now versus then?
The only thing I can really see, I think everybody grew up a little taller and maybe got a little grayer around this area. But that's about it.
I love it. As I mentioned to you earlier, my wife and I lived in Panama City Beach for over 30 years. Moved to Washington County for the quality of life. Found that you could be here. Interestingly, when we first moved here, one of the officials in the Chamber of Commerce said that they consider themselves in the middle of nowhere but halfway to everywhere. And I said, I don't know if the middle of nowhere is a very good marketing phrase, but certainly we are halfway to everywhere. In just an hour, you can be in Pensacola, Dothan, Panama City, Marietta, Tallahassee. You can work in those urban environments without having to live in them. And you can be at the world's most beautiful beaches without paying the high taxes or having to have all that salt crust all over your screens if you live next to the Gulf. So we're indeed fortunate, and obviously we consider ourselves in what we call the real Florida. So it's a pleasure to have you come on as someone who left and came back, and certainly it does appreciate what we have to offer here. Chipola Healthy Start. What is Chipola Healthy Start?
Chipola Healthy Start is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're committed to reducing fetal and infant mortality and improving birth outcomes and health outcomes for pregnant women and for children up to the age of 3.
Yeah, and as I said in my introduction, probably never before have we had such a poignant health issue related to children having children. There's a whole lot of issues that come along with that, and it's really nice to know that there's an organization that deals directly and only with those situations. How long have you been involved? I know you've only been with Chipola Healthy Start about a year, but how long have you been involved in this industry or working with the subject with which you find yourself working today?
Well, I only came to work with women and children about a year ago when I came to Healthy Start. Previously, I was in the education field.
Okay, well, certainly apropos, you saw in that education field certain trends, certain things happening. Again, we have children having children, and I think all of our problems, no matter what they are, can be related back to the way a child is raised, the way children receive instruction and their values as in that family environment. But that doesn't help the problem. The problem is what it is. In the field in which you find yourself and doing those works that you and Healthy Start does, do you find over the last few years, or whenever, that we are seeing more underage young women having children, what I call children having children?
Statistically for our area, and when I say our area, I'm not just talking about Washington County. Healthy Start services Calhoun, Liberty, Jackson, Washington, and Holmes County. And within that area, the population from between 15 and 19-year-olds do give birth more often than you think, and they do repeat those births sooner rather than later, more often than you would think.
So it's fair to say if someone has a child underage, that the opportunities for them to do so again are greater than someone who doesn't.
Well, that's one of the things that Healthy Start is very committed to. Again, we're trying to educate the public on when you should have a baby and being prepared to have that baby. And that also includes knowing how to prevent a baby. And knowing that the best thing you can do if you have one baby is wait at least 18 months or 2 years. That benefits the baby you already have, the mom, and the baby you're going to have. Because mom's body, it takes at least 2 years to recover from one child. And think about economically where you were with the first baby. If you're not ready for the second baby, now's your time to get ready. If you didn't quit smoking, now's your time to stop smoking or get a hold of a health problem in terms of nutrition, diabetes, whatever the issue may be. We're here to help educate those moms, and it can be any mom, not just the 15 to 19-year-olds. Any mom can always self-refer to our program at any point in time if she feels she needs help with that.
Yeah, I hear ages like 24, 25 bandied around as the time at which a young male is truly mature. And I don't know what that corresponding age for women would be, but I would think that it would be fair to presume that a 16, 15, 14-year-old kid having a child is not a good thing for them long term. And then to turn around again in another year or whatever, if you say that statistically they're typically going to have another, what can they do? Let me back up a minute. I'm sure that part of what you deal with is prenatal education. Even prior to that, you're talking about abstinence, you're talking about birth control, you're talking about how not to have a baby. But when someone finds themselves pregnant, many times single parent household, many times latchkey kid, which caused maybe the problem to start with, what are your services when it comes to helping them in their prenatal information gathering and in their preparation in the early months of pregnancy to ensure that they're going to be healthy throughout the entire pregnancy?
The key is always early entry into prenatal care if you find yourself pregnant. We find in all sorts of studies from our own data, from the studies done by the March of Dimes and even further, that women who are late to prenatal care run the risk of losing their baby or their baby being born too early. And having a baby born before 36 weeks is very, very dangerous.
Yeah, our youngest daughter 2.5 years ago delivered her third child, and he was 7 or 8 weeks premature. Just a handful when he was born. He's now the largest kid in his class, so I don't know that he's the norm or the exception if someone is born prematurely like that. But I do know that overall, with our health care having advanced to the point that it has, that preemies have a lot better chance now than they did 20 years ago, certainly 50, 60 years ago. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, that's a lot of the work that we are doing. Again, to defeat infant and fetal mortality, we have to help mom make it to that full-term pregnancy. We prefer, the March of Dimes prefers 39 weeks.
Chipola Healthy Start, are you a standalone organization covering those counties, or are you one of many organizations under that same umbrella?
Chipola Healthy Start is one of the 39 coalitions throughout the state of Florida.
Okay. So would it be fair to presume that every county in Florida is included in one of those coalitions?
Every single county will be managed through a Healthy Start coalition.
So when you say it in those terms, that means that even though they may not be directly affiliated, that they would come under the umbrella of one of those organizations?
Yes.
Okay. How do you get your funding? I know that you mentioned partially it comes from the state, as any other nonprofit or not-for-profit, you must do some kind of fundraising. You've got benefactors and sponsors and donors who you count on for some kind of help. How does that funding work, and what is your annual budget for your Chipola Healthy Start?
Our funding is primarily given to us through the state. We receive state funding. However, we also rely heavily on outside donations, either from private corporations, from grants, or simply from people volunteering their time. whether it being working at the coalition office, helping us prepare gift bags for moms, or being mentors to some of the young moms and some of the young dads.
Yeah, you know, we have a lot of nonprofit organizations come on the show. And I doubt that there's been an organization that doesn't rely, sometimes fairly heavily, on that volunteer force, those people in the community who are either success stories, graduates, if you will, of the efforts of that organization, or in your case, I would imagine you have lots of moms and grandmoms who are just looking, saying, my goodness, what can I do to help? How does that work? What do your volunteers actually do in your case?
Well, one of the best examples I can give is at our annual community baby shower. We have gentlemen come in and help us move things around. The tables, the chairs, the gifts, the food. We also have some area students who need scholarship hours come into the coalition office and help us with any sort of sorting or distribution of any items we might have for families.